Heyo, and what is up, Sledge Nation? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. You would think with AEW dominating the weekend, taking over the wrestling world by putting on a great Double or Nothing pay-per-view, that the WWE would like to counteract that by giving us a Monday Night Raw that would grab our attention, make us look for our phone to call our friends and be like, hey, turn on Monday Night Raw, you're never going to believe what happened. But instead of that, they made me want to grab my remote and change the channel. But they did decide to grab some headlines just 2 days later with some of the most surprising and downright shocking roster cuts that I've seen come down the pipe in a long time. And we are going to talk about all of it and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review and reaction show with a little extra bonus news. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
First and foremost, my apologies for being so late to the show, but sometimes things happen for a reason. I didn't get to post the review up on Monday night or last night as I had originally planned to because Memorial Day weekend has totally kicked my ass. My job has demanded so much of me for this holiday weekend that it has put me in a coma before 11 p.m. even rolls around on the clock here in New York City, so I apologize for that. But sometimes things happen for a reason, right? And I think that Monday Night Raw being its usual shit show self, nothing really changed. It was an exact replica of the week before. I think it would be more important to spend our time talking a little bit about what's really surprising. Because it's no surprise that Raw was a piece of trash, but it is a surprise to see some of the names that were released by the WWE earlier today. Now, we wouldn't normally be talking about this because I don't post videos on a Wednesday usually, but it seems like things have fallen into a certain way where I have no choice but to address this. And why wouldn't we want to talk about this? Do you see the picture on the screen? Do you see the first and second name on the list of superstars that have been released from WWE as of right now? This is insane to me. This is insane to me. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana. No, I could care less about that one, but let's quickly move on. Buddy Murphy, Ruby Riott, Santana, Garrett. All cut from the WWE today, all being cited for budget cuts. Budget cuts being made by a company that is having a record profit year. In the company's history, they have never made more money ever. Between multi-billion-dollar deals with companies like Fox and USA to be on the Peacock network, the money they're getting from Saudi Arabia, they're pulling in cash all over the place. They're not touring anymore. They're not spending money traveling from city to city, doing setups, paying their equipment guys to do all this shit. They have saved so much money this year, but yet they are releasing superstars because they need to trim the fat. They need to cut the budget. And they do so by releasing some of these talents. Now, the one thing that really just doesn't make any sense in true WWE form, because, you know, the shows don't really make much sense, so their business decisions don't have to make much sense either. Braun Strowman, while I'm not the biggest advocate of the character, it's not his fault that they booked him into oblivion and made him a big blubbering clown. But this guy has such wasted potential. They failed him on every level, and they're releasing him almost as if it's his fault that he's not a bigger part of the company. I don't understand it. He was just in a match for the World Heavyweight Championship a few weeks ago. It's as if the people that are running this company on a business level have absolutely nothing to do with the people that are writing the show. Or they, at the very least, they have absolutely zero form of communication between the two parties concerned. Because how do you let go of a guy that's a main event level talent, one of Vince McMahon's biggest, most favorite type of people, a gigantic, monstrous person, But more importantly than Braun Strowman, look at Aleister Black. Aleister Black was just now brought back to SmackDown after years of being languished in the WWE main roster. He's finally been given something important to do, given a character with a unique feel to it. He had those cool vignettes being produced. He kicked Big E's jaw right off of his face, setting him up for a big mid-card feud to build him up on SmackDown. And then you release him? How does that make any sense? Why would you release talent that you're in the middle of pushing to be a bigger part of the show? It doesn't make sense to me. Buddy Murphy, there's talent there that has not been even nearly touched at all. Another guy, wasted by bookings. Ruby Riott, wasted by booking. Never let her really get off her feet. The girl unfortunately got injured. She finally comes back, and then she sat back in catering. One of the more talented women wrestlers on the roster. Whether you're a fan of any of these people or not, you have to feel bad. You have to feel bad. It's unfortunate. Think about it. They spent their whole lives trying to get to the WWE. Then they get to the WWE. First step, you're in the door. Now you figure all I have to do is continue to work hard, play by the rules, do what the company wants me to do, and I'll be where I want to be in no time. And it doesn't matter what you do. You could be the biggest guy on the roster. You could be the best wrestler on the roster. You could be over like Rover, and they will let you go like that. Just like that. I cannot believe that this has happened today. It simply shocked me to my core. And I think the one that bothers me the most is Aleister Black. Here's a guy that was the talk of NXT just a couple of years back. And then he gets called up to the main roster, and he's put into a tag team with his main rival from NXT, Ricochet. They had no idea what they were going to do with this guy. There was no reason to call him up. And then you continuously ruined him week after week after week. And then Aleister Black disappears. You made him get involved with that eye for an eye shit with Seth Rollins. He disappears. He comes back. He's finally interesting, and now you let him go. I just don't get it. I don't get it. You see just how crazy this company is. How they are functioning. I don't understand. Why would any wrestler in their right mind want to go to the WWE right now in the state that it's in? So as much as I feel bad for these guys, I also am very happy for some of them. Because unlike a couple of years ago, if this were to happen, or even last year where there was nowhere to go and work because of the pandemic, now they can go and have a career resurgence literally anywhere else. It'll be interesting to see who continues to pursue their wrestling career and who doesn't. Braun Strowman has gone on the record of saying he will never work in any company other than the WWE. Let's see what time has to say about that. If that's the case, then maybe he's just not that passionate about wrestling in the first place, which it wouldn't be too hard to believe if you ask me, and maybe he'll just go off into Hollywood or something like that. But then you got guys like Black and Murphy, and ladies like Ruby Riott and Santana Garrett, who obviously are going to go somewhere else to continue to practice their craft. These people love professional wrestling. We've seen the type of performers they are. They are bound to resurface somewhere else. You got Impact Wrestling, who's going to be starving for talent. You got New Japan. Any of them could end up in New Japan. Of course, AEW is the obvious choice that everybody's going to be expecting some of these people, especially like Aleister Black or Buddy Murphy, to show up in AEW, which would be huge. You could have some great matches with some really good potential there. Might actually make me start watching AEW on a more regular basis. And the same could be said for like a Ruby Riott or a Santana Garrett. They could go back to Shimmer. They could establish themselves in Impact, which has actually got the probably the best women's division in all the professional wrestling right now. So the sky's the limit for these guys. And an interesting thing to note would be there are these rumors that WWE is looking to get into some sort of a partnership with New Japan. And then what would happen if Aleister Black or Ruby Riott ended up wrestling in New Japan and now they're partners with WWE? They're going to end up back with the company anyway. It'll be interesting to see how the future plays all this out. But another thing everybody's talking about, which you have to kind of talk about, is there's these real big rumors saying that WWE is doing all this and making all of these moves and dismissing all of this talent on an executive level, in a corporate level, and in a talent capacity to trim the fat so that they could be more easily sold to another company. Is Vince McMahon considering selling to Disney or a full-on sell out to NBC Universal or something like that? How is that going to play out? Is he going to sell the company and not be booking the shows anymore? That's some really positive news. That could bring great change, and all of these people could end up back with the WWE anyway once that goes down. But still, if you look at it just in a business sense, don't you think that WWE's value would be increased due to the amount of talent that the new owners would have to play with? You're essentially letting all the toys go out of the box. So now why is this company going to want to buy an empty box? I mean, I understand you still it's not an empty box, so to speak. You got Randy Orton and many of other talents that will come with the company. It's just very surprising to me. Very surprising, and definitely more worth talking about than a piece of shit episode Monday Night Raw that made me want to cave in my head with old Thor the Hammer here. So let's move along from this. Thank you for indulging me with this news. I mean, let me know what you think down in the comments below, as always. What do you think about the releases? I know nobody gives two shits that Lana's gone. She's going to end up in AEW with Rusev. That's almost written in the stars. Why wouldn't she go where her husband is? It wouldn't make much sense. And it's only going to end up ruining Rusev anyway. She's going to show up. She's going to be CJ Perry, and she's going to be his wife. And I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe we'll get to see the actual potential this duo has when not under the thumb of WWE and their cringeworthy writing staff, which was definitely on full display for this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. You want to talk about cringy? Let's talk about this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Repeat. Monday Night Rematch of a show that we always like to call Really Awful Wrestling. An acronym for the word Raw. Rotten, awful garbage. Releasing average wrestlers. You can throw anything there. It all applies because Monday Night Raw absolutely sucked to high hell. The one thing that I thought was good about Raw was Jimmy Smith. He is a vast improvement from Adnan Virk. He is a much better presence on the mic. I enjoyed him there. It almost felt like he's always been there. He's just kind of blended in. He's taking shots at Byron Saxton. He feels natural. He feels comfortable. He definitely needs a little bit of work. He'll get comfortable in his role, but I appreciated him being there because that other guy was just driving me nuts. So we're going to need a bigger boat. Well, Braun's going to need a bigger boat now. He didn't need one then, but he's going to need one now. He wants to stay afloat in the world and get himself a new job. That was a terrible joke. But anyway, let's move this on. Monday Night Raw. Let's get through this as quickly and painlessly as it can't be painless because Monday Night Raw is the most painful show ever. Monday Night Raw is the kind of show that has Miz TV kick off the night without any sort of explanation, any sort of reference to the fact that The Miz was eaten by fucking zombies a couple of weeks ago. The Miz is just back, and he's talking about how he was legitimately injured in that zombie match, but not the fact that he was fucking eaten like an episode of The Walking Dead was airing live on a WWE pay-per-view. This is not what happened. Miz is just there, and he's there to talk to John Morrison, who's sitting there with garlic around his neck. Now, I don't understand what the fucking garlic was for. Last time I checked, garlic is what's used to ward away vampires. It has nothing to do with zombies. If that's the case, and zombies are protecting people from garlic, why aren't we seeing that in any fucking zombie thing ever? I just watched Army of the Dead with Dave Bautista in it. Nobody had fucking garlic as a weapon. Did you ever see fucking garlic in a Resident Evil game? Pick up the garlic and throw it at the fucking zombie. No. Is he wearing a garlic fucking necklace because he's afraid that the Miz is going to eat him? Why is he wearing garlic? And he makes it worse. Because it's bad enough he's calling himself Johnny Drip Drip, and he's got the drip drip garlic around his fucking neck and his stupid hairdo with the drip in his side. Then he pulls out an actual fucking drip stick, which is a very weird, like, push water gun. It says drip stick on it. He pushes it, and it gives a little... And this is amusing to who? Who gives a shit about any of this? Why is The Miz on my TV? If A, he was eaten by zombies, and B, he was legitimately injured, shouldn't he be taking some time off? We don't fucking need Miz TV. And if you think it's couldn't get any worse at this point, let me tell you that you would be wrong. Because if you were to do one thing to make any segment on Raw be worse, you would bring out Charlotte Flair. Because for some reason, this episode of Miz TV was to have The Miz introduce Charlotte Flair so that they could show her his John Morrison's dripstick and she could see the garlic necklace. Charlotte made mention of this necklace because it had a terrible smell. She was turned away by this awful garlic smell emanating off of Johnny Drip Drip. He was dripping garlic juice, apparently, and it was grotesque to Charlotte. But she had to say that she's going to send Ripley to hell because, you know, it's the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view we're building towards. She's going to become a 14-time champion like her dad, and blah, 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 blah. Then Rhea Ripley comes out. She still looks as basic as ever. Right? She could try as hard as she can to look goth, but she doesn't come off as anybody important. I know nothing about her, and I have no reason to care. She's holding a championship that she's going to lose in a couple of weeks, so what reason is there to give a shit about Rhea Ripley? She's a nightmare to everyone in the division. She's got the worst writing for this character. You're not even making her compelling. She's telling everybody, oh, she's not a vampire because John Morrison asked her about garlic bread. What the fuck is happening? What am I watching? Is this an episode of the Food Network? I don't understand. This is fucking awful. And all of this was leading towards Nikki Cross having a 2-minute time limit challenge, but this week against Charlotte, instead of how they did it last week against Rhea Ripley. And guess what? Charlotte was unable to beat Nikki Cross in 2 minutes, so Nikki Cross won and celebrated like she just won the fucking lottery. And now she also thinks that this somehow gives her a shot at the championship. Well, she literally believes that she beat Rhea Ripley last week and that she beat Charlotte Flair this week when all she did was not lose. You didn't win, you just failed to lose. How does that get you a championship opportunity? I don't fucking know. And I certainly don't care. Nikki Cross was announced the winner because Charlotte was unable to apply the figure 4 in time before the time ran out. And that was it. And then, everybody, it's time for our favorite question on the Monday Night Raw review. Riddle me this, my friends. What the hell is up with Randy Orton's Princess Bride mustache and goatee? I don't know whether I like it or not. I look at him and I immediately think of the movie The Princess Bride. I don't know why. Like, he should fit right in with the cast of that movie. It's a little off-putting to me, but if that's the worst I can complain about this week for Riddle Me This, then I'll take it as a win. At least we didn't have to see Matt Riddle flipping off his fucking pigeon feet at us this week on Monday Night Raw. But anyway, the only thing they had for Damian Priest this week was to talk to Matt Riddle, because, we didn't have zombies or aliens or actual vampires on the show. They didn't want to put him in another segment with The Miz. Thank God, I'll give them credit for that. But they also didn't have anything more important for him than to try to teach Matt Riddle some Spanish. And this was more cringeworthy Matt Riddle TV. Randy Orton shows up, and this is where we saw the goatee for the first time. Priest seemed pissed off to see Randy Orton. He left. Riddle, of course, was happy to see his partner. He started doing his whole Matt Riddle thing, but Randy Orton did the, quiet down with the lock and key in the lips, and then threw the lock away. And then the idiot Riddle is looking around for an invisible key that doesn't exist to open his mouth because, Raw. Raw's got a Raw. They showed us the first commercial for SummerSlam featuring a song by Cardi B. Cardi B supposedly is in negotiations with WWE to be taking part in SummerSlam in some capacity. Whether it has something to do more than just licensing a song, I don't know. Maybe she'll follow in Bad Bunny's footsteps and become part of the show. Who knows? I don't certainly want to see that happen. I don't care to see that happen. I mean, Cardi B's beautiful. She's one of the hottest women on the planet. I don't care for her music particularly, but that's just my personal taste. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Randy Orton then went on to defeat Xavier Woods in 9 minutes. This was a decent match between two veterans, and I don't appreciate Xavier Woods being thrown under the bus for a feud just because they need to stall and kill time because they decided to use Kofi Kingston for something else. I don't know. The most interesting thing about this match was Randy Orton took a page out of Matt Riddle's book, and instead of winning with the RKO, he beat Xavier Woods using the Bro Derek. Matt Riddle was overjoyed about this, and then they went to go pose together in the ring. Randy didn't really pose. Like, he didn't pull the trigger on the whole pose, but Matt Riddle's into it, and everybody else is into it, but I'm not. I'm not really. I want them to get to the end so it could be over. If this is somehow going to end with Randy versus Riddle, great. Let's get to that, because this stuff, it's just killing my wrestling soul. It's nothing. It's nothing, and it's not funny to me. And I understand everybody else might be into it, and if it's your thing, great. For me, it's not entertaining. You know what else is not entertaining? Seeing what they've done to the World Heavyweight Champion, Bobby Lashley. I was one of the first people to go back on my word. We used to call him the almighty milk dud because that's exactly what he was. He was just a walking, talking milk dud. He had sisters. That was a ridiculous segment. We had all kinds of bad things. We had him with the Leo Rush manager and the ridiculous ass posing and all this shit that we had to get through. And then they formed the Hurt Business, and they put Lashley center stage. They made him the world champion, and then they took the Hurt Business away from him. And now he's slowly but surely creeping his way back into cringe milk dud territory, because tonight, because he wasn't allowed to interfere in the Drew McIntyre Kofi Kingston main event match, he decided he's just going to dance with a bunch of women in his locker room. Lashley's Ladies is about as cringe as you can get. Watching the champ awkwardly dancing with all of these women who he is not with is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. How far the Almighty has fallen. All of this leading to what? To another rematch, which we'll get to in just a couple of minutes. By far, the most bona fide, certified, hands down, 100% poop hammer fresh moment of the night goes to Reginald defeating Shayna Baszler in less than 5 minutes because of spooky ooky stuff. For like the 4th week in a row, Shayna Baszler gets distracted by fire, which causes her to be rolled up by Reginald and lose. Shayna Baszler, real life MMA badass chick, former NXT Women's Champion, longest combined reigns, if I'm not mistaken, history-making talent, Ronda Rousey's good friend. You'd think they'd want to keep her happy, right? You'd think they want to showcase her in a better way. But this is WWE. We're going to have Shayna Baszler come to the WWE, bite somebody's neck off, and then waste her in a tag team with a woman she could wrestle circles around, and then have her get beaten by a guy who's a glorified clown from Cirque du Soleil. To do what? Where does Shayna Baszler go from here? Her career is in a downward spiral, spiraling towards a vortex of nothingness. How do you come back from this? You're supposed to take her seriously now? Oh, well, she was distracted by the fire. Why is she having a match with Reginald anyway? All of a sudden, WWE is going into gender? Why is this only okay for Reginald? Is there something about Reginald that we don't know? I don't get it. I hate it. I hated every minute of it, and I hated everything that was still to come revolving around this. Reginald was so happy he ran to the back where Nia Jax was happy to see him. I don't know if Nia's like in love with him, or she's looking at him like he's her little brother, or are they just like best friends? I don't know. It's not really coming off as a romance, but more like a buddy comedy situation, which I don't find funny in the least bit. We had Drew McIntyre in the back talking, so I wasn't really listening. He was talking about how he respected Kofi Kingston, of course, but he's going to win this match tonight. And then he talked about how he slayed Brock Lesnar, which is something that Kofi couldn't do, and that he likes Kofi Kingston, but I'm going to roll right over him tonight. Good for you. Nobody wants to see that. But unfortunately, nobody in the WWE really gives a shit what you and I want to see. Case in point, Mason T-Bar, Mush and Teabag, the former Retribution guys who are now a tag team who look absolutely ridiculous. They're wearing plain black. They got like makeup like smushed on their face, like there's nothing even that creative to it. They're still talking as if they were impersonating Batman. And there's nothing to them. But they go out there and they beat the Loser House Party, who continue to be nothing more than a Loser House Party. Remember a couple of weeks back when they were like, hey, look, we're the Lucha House Party. Take us seriously again. And now here they are. You know, there's really not much wrong with this because you want to build up Mason T-Bar. I get it. But there's a better way to go about this. If this was like a nice 10 to maybe 15-minute tag team match where the Lucha House Party could have actually got some offense off and be made to look like a viable team, you know, you could actually build both teams at once. Not everything has to be a squash match. Speaking of squash matches, we got back-to-back squash matches. And in the worst way possible. The United States champion Sheamus was done wrong tonight. Sheamus was defeated by Ricochet in less than 2 minutes thanks to a distraction from Dr. Dimples Humberto Carrillo, which allowed Ricochet to beat Sheamus with a roll-up. Sheamus would then take on Dr. Dimples Humberto Carrillo, and they would wrestle for a short while before Ricochet would cause a distraction which allowed Humberto Carrillo to win and defeat the United States champion via roll-up. Non-title match, of course. But here they are. WWE doing what they do best, ruining a good thing. Sheamus has been on one of the best runs of his life, putting on damn near close to match of the night candidate night after night on the worst show on television. Sheamus has been consistent. He's been putting on great matches. He's been made to look fantastic. They gave him the United States Championship, and then he's gone on, and he has beaten Humberto Carrillo cleanly, multiple times. He's beaten Ricochet cleanly, multiple times. But now here he is, losing to both of them in less than 10 minutes. And this is okay. This is how you feature your champion. I swear to God, if I ever made it to the WWE, seeing how they book their champions, I would never want to be any champion of any kind. Because as soon as I become a champion, you're going to treat me like a chump and have me looking up at the lights and losing to people that I shouldn't be losing to. Even in a 2-on-1 handicap situation, he should have beat the snot out of both of these guys. They're just taking away all of the goodwill and good work that they have done with the Sheamus character. I've even forgiven his ridiculous derby hat and his speakeasy suspenders and his Baron Zemo jacket. I forgive him for all of his fashion faux pas because his wrestling has been stellar. And this guy goes out there to lose to 2 jerk-offs, 2 catering all-stars, and gets what I think equates to a broken nose for it. By the end of this thing, Sheamus was bleeding all over the place. The hard way, of course. He was pissed to no end, and so was I. So was I. There was another Eva Marie video, so, next. But going to the next segment wouldn't do much better anyway, because we had Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke taking on Naomi and the now released Lana. So what do you think happened here? I mean, hey, spoiler alert, Lana's not with the company anymore. You think she got the win on Monday? Of course not. Of course not. But this was a rematch. We've seen this match dozens of times before, but I guess on the way out, Lana did the favor. Who cares? Who cares? So now Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke got to win. What are they going to be next in line to challenge the tag team champions? Who cares? Nobody. Cedric Alexander was facing Shelton Benjamin again for the 3rd time in 4 weeks. And he beat him in 30 seconds. Now, I assume that this was a casualty of Raw going a little bit overtime on the segments in the first half of the show. Apparently, that opening segment from Hell, featuring Charlotte and The Miz and John Morrison and his garlic nonsense, went on about 10 minutes too long. So I'm thinking that this was the match that suffered the most, when they definitely could have just done away with the women's tag team match, and we definitely didn't have to see the match that was about to come next, and it definitely didn't need to go 10 minutes. They could have given some time to Cedric and Shelton, I think. Where are they going from this? I guess Cedric's going to move away from Shelton. He's beaten him now twice, cleanly, so, good luck, Cedric, and maybe Shelton's going to be next on a bunch of released names in a couple of weeks, which might be the best thing for him, so he can go somewhere else and actually contribute and be a valued member of a roster somewhere else, because WWE does not value these guys, either one of them, even though Cedric got the win. A 30-second match on Monday Night Raw, a 3-hour television show, you gave us 30 seconds? Screw you guys, I'm going ham. We had Elias and Jackson Riker in the back, and they're having like a disagreement. And Jackson Riker's like, oh, I used to serve in Iraq, because apparently Elias is questioning his manhood for some reason, questioning his mettle. Have you ever seen battle? Have you ever been in battle? How do you ask that? You don't know enough about your own partner to know that he was a fucking soldier? Why would you say that? Unless you didn't know that. And if you didn't know that, then why are you even partners with this guy in the first place if you don't care enough to know who he is? Holy shit. This whole conversation was only put there to lead us towards the finish of a Raw Tag Team Championship opportunity. Elias and Jackson Riker lose to AJ Styles and Omos because Elias decides to turn on Jackson Riker. He walked away from this match, leaving Jackson Riker alone to suffer the wrath of Omos and get pinned by AJ Styles to lose the match. This is leading, obviously, towards a feud between the two, and they made Jackson Riker the good guy? I don't know how that's going to blow over when the live crowds show back up. This guy is notorious, to say the least. He's mouthed off on Twitter in support of what he believes in, and I guess that's fine, but he was quite controversial in some of those comments. It cost his buddies their jobs, cost him his stable and his spot on SmackDown, and now he's going to be a good guy, and he's going to be going up against Elias, a guy he's been rolling around with for months, and there's been not even the littlest bit of reasoning why. He just liked Elias's music and now became a disciple of Elias. And now Elias is done with him, and on we're going to go. And does anybody give a shit? Do you care? Because this guy don't. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Obviously, they're leading AJ and Omos in the direction of Randy and Riddle. And until that happens, what else is there to give a shit about in the tag team division? Nothing. We had an Alexa's Playground. She was going to have Reginald on her show tonight. She did have Reginald on her show. He came on just for a minute, but before they could really have a conversation, Shayna Baszler showed up and kind of, I guess she challenged Alexa Bliss next week, or did she challenge the doll? I'm not sure. I'm not really too sure. But she obviously knows Alexa's the one behind the fire, spooky, hibbity-jibbity nonsense, and she's going after her now. But she got down on her knee and looked the puppet in the eye and said, "You're just a stupid doll." And she's going to see Alexa Bliss next week. They need to have a chat, she says. Now, this is the part that really, really threw me for a loop, because think about it. Shayna Baszler came to Alexa's Playground to punch Reginald in the face and then tell Alexa, we need to have a chat, so I'll see you next week so we can have a talk. You're together now. Why not have the talk? You went all the way back there to tell her, we need to talk. And clearly there's time to talk, because Reginald is no longer a problem. But you're going to do it next week. And then you talk shit to a doll, which is obviously going to come back and haunt her in some probably ridiculous and goofy way, which is going to piss off every single one of us. The Viking Raider Warrior Raider Raiders were actually remembered and put on this show, but they weren't given anything interesting. They were in the back talking to Mansoor. They were making Mansoor yell the word raid. Trying to get him to unleash his inner warrior raider, I guess. I don't fucking know what this was about. I can't explain everything to you people. I can't even understand it for myself. If I can't understand it for myself, how can I explain it to you? There is one thing here that was mildly interesting, was after he yelled raid and the Viking Raider Warrior Raider Raiders went away, Mustafa Ali came into the scene, stood next to Mansoor, and immediately my brain went, And when my brain does that, that means I could be into whatever's happening here. Whether it's Mansoor versus Ali, whether it's Mansoor and Ali teaming up to give us a really great, much-needed tag team in the division, I'm into it. I don't have faith in WWE to execute it in any way, but I'm into it, and they better not fuck it up if they're going to do it. Ali tells Mansoor not to trust anyone. So Mansoor's like, well, why should I trust you? And Ali's like, nah, you're getting it. Now, I don't know what that means, what that's leading to, but either way, partnership or rivalry, that could be very interesting and some really good wrestling if they allow it to happen. We go back to the back to see Lashley dancing with his fucking ladies again. Lashley and MVP don't consider either Drew McIntyre or Kofi Kingston serious contenders. And they're happy to watch the match in the back, dancing with the ladies, which was as cringy as fuck. Then we have the main event, Drew McIntyre defeating Kofi Kingston in a over 20-minute match, which I would have enjoyed a lot more if I didn't have a 20-minute match from them last week on Monday Night Raw, which went nowhere. This week, however, it didn't go nowhere. It gave us a decisive finish with a very good match. The main event was very good. I actually was hoping that it was going to be Kofi, but there was no way Kofi was going to win without shenanigans, and I will give WWE credit on one thing. And that one thing is I was terrified that because Bobby Lashley was not able to interfere in this matchup due to Adam Pearce's ruling last week, I thought for sure that Jinder Mahal was showing up to cost him this match. And the fact that that didn't happen gives me a moment to breathe a sigh of relief, because we got a clean finish and an impressive finish too. Kofi Kingston got kicked out of the sky with a Claymore kick, and then Drew McIntyre pinned him. It was a very nice finish, a very good match. And then Lashley came out, posing with the World Heavyweight Championship. We are getting a rematch at Hell in a Cell, another match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. So, needless to say, I'm not really excited about it. My biggest fear, once again, because I know it's coming, and whether I jinx it or not, that's up to you. But I don't believe it's a jinx. I just believe it's a plan that's already in the works. I have a feeling Drew McIntyre is going to take the championship back, beat Bobby Lashley at Hell in a Cell, and they are going to put him directly in the sights of Jinder, who has returned and then disappeared, probably because they realized it's not time, but it's never going to be the right time to pull the trigger on Jinder Mahal versus Drew McIntyre. I don't give a shit about their 3MB garbage trash history in the mid-card or any of that shit. It's not worth it. I don't want to see it. You want to see Raw's ratings continue to decline? Do that. I don't want to see that. I want to see a change for the better. But it seems like that's never going to come. Thank you all so very much for joining me on another episode of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show with bonus news. Never really done that before, but that only happened due to the fact that I was late this week, which once again, I apologize to you Sledgeheads of Sledge Nation. I'm sorry I was late. Life happens sometimes, but never fear. Sledge is here to deliver you from your pain and give you some shit to laugh at other than Monday Night Raw itself. If you missed anything else on the channel, it'll be linked in the annotations up above. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Yeti microphone. We thank you guys for your continued love and support, because you guys are the most important member of this team, the Sledgeheads of Sledge Nation. Now is your time to do your part, and if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. If you had a good time here with me today, make sure you share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need a place to come and call home and a new community to come and shit all over the WWE with. We are always welcoming new members, which means it is also now time to hit that subscribe button if you aren't already a subscriber. Let's try to get to that 3,000 subscriber mark before SummerSlam. That would make me so happy. SummerSlam marks the end of our 5th year and the beginning of year number 6 on YouTube. It would be great to kick it off with 3K. Beyond, if we can get past that, that's even great. Let's go to 5K, 10K, 100K, 50,000K. I'm good. I'm good. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed so you don't miss anything here on Sledgehammer TV. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV right here on YouTube.com.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.